Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your night to join me. I really appreciate that. Patreon.com/Vlogs About Nothing. You'll find that we have a page there, and we're offering some like payment plans for you guys to help start kickstart. Some of to help start Kickstart. That's not a thing. I know this. One, I'm trying to not be as loud as I normally am. And two, I had some lemonade at BJ's Brewery and Restaurant, and I don't usually have lemonade, so it's like TBH, just like feeling like I don't know, like bloated, if that's a thing. But I don't ever drink sugar, so it's kind of what happens. It was my treat for the evening. I also did manage to kick in close to 600 push-ups today, which was like really cool considering that I feel like I may not have had as much energy as I normally would have, considering I did have a really good night last night. Oh, TMI? Is that too much? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's all be creative with our thoughts and be specific, right? Because I talk specifically so that there is no sort of question as to what I am talking about, except there really is a question about what I'm talking about because I never actually really say it. You feel me? And then sometimes I just do, and then I feel like when I do, it riles up some feathers, and stalkers come out. I was telling my roommate earlier, I was like, even I know of that song, like that's way older than me, that talks about how the freaks come out at night. And yeah, again, for the record, like I'm pro freak, whatever. I know that what I just said as a catchphrase, just made up right now, doesn't entirely like already age well, and that the moment it left my lips, I'm already thinking of freak offs, which again is like some super creep innuendo as it concerns the legitimacy and or legitimacy alleged legitimacy of the infamous freak offs, which again, for many, many people out there, probably putting it at light best is not a funny topic. Holy potatoes. I mean, I'm not shaking my tail feather ever again. And honestly, that song that was made from the creepy song, the stalker song. I wonder if my stalker listens to that song. I know you guys obviously know what song I'm talking about, because who doesn't? Who's never heard that song and doesn't think it's the weirdest song in the world? Yeah, you know which one. The one that, every step you take, every move you make. It's sort of like, wow, this should be the theme song for the United States of America. So that leads us into tonight's topic, right? Which is a 3-minute sidebar into the video. But I really wanted to get that Patreon plug out there just because it's kind of something I'm really going to be focusing on as the future progresses and I'm able to get a laptop and make some better videos and stuff. You feel me? So tonight I'm mentioning a video made by Upper Echelon and link in the description below. But the title of his video is The Dark Side of Advertising. And, we've speculated many times on this channel, including documented history, historical archived conversations, or impromptu speeches that we've had here on the channel about the very underlying suspicion that advertisers are able to gather data from picking up everybody's just normal everyday conversations. Now, a couple of things have come to light as it concerns what 20 years ago would have been brushed off by norms as, conspiracy theorists just sort of being over paranoid. But when in fact we do live in 2024, I do believe that is the year. Sometimes I'm not sure, honestly, but it always tends to work itself out. But regardless, I feel like being in this particular time like lends itself to a few different things. One is that we are quite literally and have been for a few decades now really embedded with Big Brother. I mean, 1984, George Orwellian school of thought. I mean, at the time, it probably wasn't even that close to like being far off from being accurate, right? And that, my argument is and has always been that history will say in a few hundred years that we are currently living in the most secretive, police controlled states, arguably throughout the world, that this current time has ever seen, at least any history that we've been privy to, right? And that um, Big Brother's real, and it has been real for a long, long time now. I think it's semantics at best to argue when that particular shift in our culture occurred, but nonetheless, it definitely has already occurred. And it's scary, but it's also, reassuring that we can accurately predict with pretty precise sort of understanding what our futures will be like or what our future could be like if we don't, if we're not informed, if we're not provided with informed consent. Because it's one thing to provide informed consent, and it's another to, subvertly exploit people at the cost of the customers. And so, in the dark side of advertising, Upper Echelon talks about a number of different factually based pieces of empirical evidence that now lead us without any question to understand that our phones listen to us. This is, again, not speculative, this is factual. Whether or not it's Uncle Sam and the Department of Homeland Security and the National Security Agency and, all of its other proprietary branches, including Black Budget Ops and all of these other just very secretive programs, we live in a world shrouded of secrecy. That's kind of the bread and butter of how I feel status quo is able to be executed, arguably and quite remarkably flawless as it concerns the implementation of the ever so pervasive indoctrination of billions of people throughout the world. Again, this is more of a philosophical kind of a vlog as it concerns the acknowledgement that as I speak into my phone now, and as I've been an owner of a smartphone for well over 26 years, I first obtained my first smartphone in 1998. That like a smartphone in 1998 wasn't even, there was no name for it. When BlackBerry first gen came out and Sidekick came out, it was just one of those things that I felt like even as a young person in another century that was already set up to make sure that we are, doing what we're supposed to be doing. And that begs the question, what are we supposed to be doing? I mean, and I think that that answer is maybe impossible to find, in that maybe there is no answer. Maybe, like data and government surveillance and, propaganda and status quo. All of these things are very, very meaningful as the future progresses and we live in a world that is sold as an idea or concept of free will, but in fact is simply an infrastructure set up by our fellow human beings to arguably entrap us so that we are not able to think for ourselves or that we don't have free will in the kind of capacity that sometimes means you don't choose to do something. So, for example, when the phone listens to what you're saying with you and your buds and sends you a targeted ad, you know, maybe that's not free will. You feel me? I mean, whether or not that person decides to, in Target's example, buy products from them because they're pregnant, again, it's one thing to speculate, it's one thing to be highly accurate, and it's another to find out as a father that your teenage daughter is pregnant as a result of targeted ads from Target that let the person, the end user, know that the daughter was pregnant before she told her dad. So again, that's a conflict of interest. People need to have the opportunity to talk amongst other people, about certain situations before an overt kind of techno based dystopian sort of punk theme comes along and, sort of pushes the point forward without providing that informed consent. And again, the informed consent is crucial. But I think the point of this vlog was simply to have a very basic discussion about Upper Echelon's video, which again is a great video. I'm a huge fan. I'm a sub. As soon as I got some money, I'll be joining. You feel me? But like again, the thing is, tech does listen to us. Now, furthermore and moreover, I think the new wave of technology that sounds just as listening on from phones sounded 20 years ago might sound just entirely crazy, but in fact governments around the world have invested billions of dollars to tech companies that are privatizing and proprietating. They're the proprietors of software that reads our thoughts. So again, I mean, if I'm the first person to tell you that the phone may or may not be reading your thoughts, as crazy as that sounds, it sounds just as crazy as your phone listening to you 20 years ago did. Put that in perspective. Technology has changed. It has changed the way we live, it has changed the way that we interact, and it is a change, in fact, that we are moving forward with, regardless of any potential consequences. Some of these consequences are very real, in fact, and they continue to plague our very basic understanding of how to treat each other to this very moment, to this very second. So, what do we do when we find out that phones and the technology powered within them has the ability to read our thoughts? Again, these are conversations we gotta have now, ladies, gentlemen, they, them, because when it comes to reality, it'll already have been too late. And the ironic thing about that is that it may already have happened and we would never know. Just like, I had no idea 20 years ago that the piece of tech that I was using was absolutely, absolutely, without question, a way to monitor. And I mean, I'm a middle-aged millennial. I feel like my peer group out of everyone has the most kind of data invested within these infrastructures, just simply because of, being 11 years old and having a smartphone. And it's, again, just very, when no one else had them. Again, like, me and my buddy Evan were the only people for years at my school to have a smartphone. And like that, in perspective, I think about that now, and that's crazy. Like, I went to a school with hundreds of people. The fact that me and one other person were the only people to have cell phones, like, one, makes me feel like a highly pompous, Richard for like, but like also, it just, it wasn't, I was never, like, I'm not an overt kind of a person, I never like walked around, showing off my smartphone and stuff, but I did have a girlfriend. She did take it into her class. It's just interesting to think about how different people's perspectives vary based on their experiences, and then just, a decade or even 2 decades later, people are finally like, yeah, that's the way it is. But people that have already understood and utilized this tech for long periods of time, like, already know. So again, by the time everybody else knows, it's like now we already know about something else. So I encourage you to subscribe to this dude's channel. It's really cool. The dark side of advertising. And yeah, keep that in mind. I'm highly speculative of the nature that these phones are now capable of reading our thoughts. And again, nothing crazy. It's not like, Johnny Mnemonic stuff. I don't know that that's an accurate reference, but it's not like that yet. But, conceptually speaking and theoretically and physically speaking in the scientific world, it is in fact entirely possible. Our brains are just made up of some waves, some electrical waves and things like that. And it's actually, pretty easy when you know how to do it and you have the stuff to do it, to perform these kinds of things, which again may not be in real time right now reading complete thoughts from human beings, but the very basic foundation of this tech has been laid, and it will happen. It will happen. Whether it just is a matter of time, and again, arguably it could have already happened. So, yeah, cheers to life and the good old government for making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And for the record, Uncle Sam, I really feel like I've been doing what I'm supposed to be doing my whole life, so I hope that we're good. You feel me? Because, like, I don't want any problems. And this whole relationship with the sentient AI and, the potentiality of you reading my thoughts, I guess welcome to the wonderful mind of Albert. You're welcome here too. Not much goes on, um, other than seeing bugs fly around in my room. They just really are attracted to these lights for some reason. But I hope that you guys have a really good night, and thanks again for joining me. Okay, bye.